Morning, Service Lines Committee. How y'all doing today? Alongside of me, Brother Doug. What's up, man?
Morning, Zach. Another Monday, my friend. It's payroll week. Woohoo!
Woo!
That's right.
Woo!
Unless you get paid by the month or something, then I'm sorry to be a buzzkill for you.
Yeah. I get paid every week now, so that's kind of nice.
One day we won't have money or U.S. coins. It'll be like potatoes in a wheelbarrow or something like that. We'll be trading. Is that how that's going to go down?
Listen, we're fast heading down that track, but that's a story for another day. Morning, Dr. Dan. Morning, Saul. Hope y'all had a great Mother's Day weekend. That being said, famous Route 66 begins in Chicago. Yes, I am right in the Route 66 corridor. Actually, it's a pretty big thing in our area. So there's a whole.
That's a fun fact right there, Saul. Good job, buddy.
Yeah, it's super cool. I mean, it passes right through our town. It goes into towns just south of us. We have the Rocket Man in Wilmington, one of the few Rocket Men, those big, tall metal statues that were like muffler men at one point in time. So we have the launching pad right in Wilmington, just south of us.
Oh,
so,
there you go.
Yeah, big famous part of Route 66. Actually, one of our local radio personalities from the AM station went and just drove like all of Route 66. I think he's just finishing up that trip. So he started in Chicagoland and headed on west. It was pretty cool.
So do you ever think about work on the weekends, Zach, or are you pretty good at compartmentalizing it all?
I really try not to.
But it can creep in?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Especially when you work with your friend, because he just wants to text and talk, and I'm like,
oh, that's true. That's true.
As long as we're not talking about work, we can talk. You bring work into it, we got problems, buddy. No, but the reality is we end up talking about it. So, and we end up thinking about it. So
that'll be like chapter 7 of your book. The great idea that in the flooring industry that you and your partner came up with while while he's wiping his baby bottom's butt or something, right? Like the next Steve Jobs idea. Is that how that's going to go down?
Maybe. Well, so we're doing something that no one else does. Our delivery driver, we started that kid the other day. We got off to a rocky start. He didn't show up the day he was supposed to show up, so that was kind of strike one. But so we're taking the delivery person and turning them into part of the install team, so it's an all-in-one thing. Oh. And having in-house installers is like becoming a thing of the past, or it's rare in the flooring industry. It's mostly subs. However, there is a certain level that it actually works better, and you get better service when you do it that way. So, taking our delivery driver, making him part of the install team, it seemed logical to me. But if you're not, that's as an outsider looking in still, right? Like
that's the fun part, right? That's the fun part. I love asking people that don't do what we do. This is my challenge. What would you come up with? And a lot of stuff is out there in left field, but you get some good things every once in a while, right?
Yeah, well, and so that got me thinking over the weekend. What would it look like if we masterminded with people that were not in, say, the appliance industry? What would that look like? How, I think you shared about it, or maybe EJ shared about it. Someone said, well, why don't you do it this way? I don't know. I never thought about it that way. It was an outsider looking into the appliance industry. And it's like, oh, that's a really good idea. I never thought about that. Yeah. Well, it's easier for an outsider to see that, right?
Right.
So anyway, it does kind of segue into our topic. Good morning, Adam. Another random fact from Saul. Here we go. Brownie was also in Chicago. Yes, they are.
I tried that once.
A pod brownie?
Yeah. It didn't work. It didn't work. So I tried this thing called the Willy Wonka bar. It was like a chocolate bar, and it had 10 squares. And since the brownie didn't have an effect, they took 2 squares right here at this desk at like 4 in the afternoon. The office manager, she gave it to me, and I just took 2 just to shock her because she said that 1 makes her feel a little tipsy. And then I completely forgot about it. So at like 5:30 at home, it's just my daughter and I eating dinner, and everybody else is kind of doing stuff. It all just took over, my friend. It ended with vomiting and thinking I might need to go to the emergency room. But I slept well for 4 days straight, and I had the giggles for about 2 or 3 days for no reason at all. And yeah, man, it was a beautiful, crazy experience that I'll never try again.
Y'all didn't expect us to be talking about pot brownies this morning, did you? Well, surprise!
Let me open in prayer.
Yeah, good segue.
Oh, Lord. God, you were with me. You were with me when I took 2 squares. God, you give us free will, and you give us the choice to live our lives the way we want. And you've given us a rule book, but it's also a love letter. And that's your word, your Bible. God, we thank you for your instruction, and we thank you for that choice to choose you. And we just pray, God, for those who know you by name, that your spirit surround them and give them hope, and give them the words and the time and the place, space to do things in your name. Lord, I lift up Zach to you today, and I thank you, God, that who would have thought a year ago that you brought him from the appliance world into production, and now into a place where he's helping a friend and diving into a whole nother industry. So God, we just pray that you continue to provide for him and his family financially, but that you give him all the things that he needs to know to be a child of God for you moving forward. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. So today's topic.
Saul.
yes, we did, and it's your fault, buddy.
That's it. That's it, Saul. Yeah, you started it, buddy. Oh man.
We kid. Yeah. So today we're talking sneakily. For those of you who didn't realize, we're talking mindset. We snug it in.
Yeah.
No, but really, inspiration. How do you inspire your teams? Or do you inspire your teams? Is it your way or the highway? Let us know in the comments. Like if you're all about, nope, this is the way we're doing it, and I don't care, we're doing it this way. Okay, let us know. Tell us in the comments. We're open for dialogue. But really, Doug and I were talking about it, and it's like how can you inspire one set of people or one particular individual, and then you try the same thing and it doesn't work, and you're like, what the heck? You know, human beings, we're complicated individuals.
Yeah, I mean, as the team grows, you and the flooring company, you've lost some people, you've gained some people. It's a different team, so it has a different makeup, a different feel. The team might be the same size, but it's likely to grow a little bit. It just becomes different. I wouldn't say harder, maybe. I mean, it can be harder if you reduce your team, because now you have to work more. But when you have people that you're trying to inspire and get them to understand the path that we're aiming for, that's a lot of buy-in, and inspiration is pretty critical. He's not even really from Texas, but he's embraced the Texan approach for sure, right? Where is he from?
Too
Poland?
funny. Actually, I just saw a friend of mine in the service industry. He's a carpet cleaner down in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and he was sharing there's a Chicago hot dog joint down there. Some Chicago transplant went down there and is running a Chicago hot dog joint in Dallas-Fort Worth. So if you're in the area, try it. But yeah, it is a different dynamic. And how well do you know your team? So it got me thinking about it. Like Matt, the owner of the 4-store, thinks one way, and I'm like, well, okay, I don't really care about that. But his love language, his way of communicating is acts of service and gifts. Like that's his thing, right? And mine is words of affirmation.
Mm.
And so, you know, we communicate very differently, and those same things can be interpreted negatively if you don't know how the other person functions, right? So him brushing stuff off and saying, "Oh, it's not a big deal."
Yeah.
For a person with words of affirmation, you just cut my throat, right?
Right.
And me not acknowledging a gift or something that he did for me, you'd have thought I chopped his head off, right?
Sure.
And so, how does that play into our teams as a whole? Do you know your people's love language? We actually talked about this in the book club the other day. There's a little survey. I'll drop it in the comments if I can find that chat quickly. But there is a way to see like how people feel affirmed at work. Have your team take a survey. Have you ever done that, Doug, with your team?
Yeah. Well, we did it many years ago. So times have changed, and we have a whole new crew of people. But I think it's worth it. And I had to qualify, love language. So I was trying to make sure that the staff didn't think I was hitting on them. But now they've changed it to languages of appreciation. So same word. It's the same word because we do. You and Matt, you guys are. It's an intimate relationship that you guys have. Survival and success. You guys are going to celebrate together. It's very personal for both of you. So it is important to know. I took the test this week, and words of affirmation and acts of service were the same for me as well. So the thing is, I don't think I've done either one of those things for you, Zach, but you still like hanging out with me on Mondays. So I'm not sure.
Listen, you are the most affirming person, which is probably why we get along so well, because at the end of every episode, you're like, "Oh, thank you, buddy. I just, I appreciate you so much." And your prayers. So you speak to my love language every single time that we are on together, which, it's that reciprocal, and I give that same thing back. I am so encouraged by the things that you say, and that's I pump you up as well, and so
you know what?
We're able to communicate.
It's interesting. Is Rob does he want to know that? Is it all right for us to tell him that he's part of the mafia? I meant, works for Samsung, and he's a trainer, right? So he has a training team, and he creates presentations. So for him, his team or his audience is way different and bigger than the two small businesses that we run. And it's probably impossible for Rob to be able to know what each person is and what their affirmation is, right? So now you have to kind of create a program or a culture that identifies and hits on multiple areas. So it's going to be really different for everybody, right?
Well, and then you go to the next level of that. You have an entirely different culture, right?
Yeah.
The Koreans are an entirely different culture than we are here. And so that entire company is run in a very different way than even a large corporation in America. I mean, they're different entities. And so how do you, as a manager, how do you as an owner, how do you as a husband, a wife, whatever, begin to navigate through these things? Because the reality is we have to face these complicated relationships and these complicated mindsets as we go. And so
I think go ahead.
Go ahead.
I think
I was gonna say, if your goal is growth, you gotta ask the question somehow. So yeah, give us step one, Doug.
Well, I think that's it. Step one is relationship. And so no matter how busy you are or the role that you adapt and change by, Sam, it's going to have to be that in your Google Calendar, you spend some time just talking and hanging out to understand them. I have 6 remote staff that I've never met face to face. So that's probably the biggest challenge for me is how do I let those 6 remote people who answer phones for us know who I am and what I really care about, because what I care about is what the company cares about. So it's about spending time where you're maybe not doing something specific, a task, and maybe you're just chatting, right?
Oh boy, 2 nationalities, American and Texan. Says the guy in Miami, Florida.
Yeah, from Cuba or something, right? It's very complicated.
Like yeah.
Yeah.
So have you ever tried to inspire someone with the wrong thing?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I hired a tech. Well, you got to watch the cues because he's a nice guy, so he didn't want to let me down. But he was like a Dish Network tech that became a lead tech that became the manager of 60 techs, and then he wanted to come work for us. I should have realized he just wanted to get away from the craziness of it all. But from the interview, I could tell that he was a leader and he was good at leading people. And so, like every other conversation, I thought I was inspiring him, as he's learning appliances and learning our system. I'd always go, and this is a great thing because in the future, when you're training, or if we give you a team of 5 guys, and one day I think it was like a FaceTime chat. I just saw his face contort, and I go, and then I hung up, and then I called him back, and I go, "You don't want to be a leader in this company, do you?" And he goes, "Thank you, Doug. Thank you. No, I just want to be a technician here." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm pushing down your throat something that I thought you wanted so bad. And I've been coaching and encouraging and inspiring you for like over a year now. Why did you wait so long?" And then our relationship changed after that. He began to tell me what he wanted more directly. But I thought I had the read on him, and I was completely wrong. And I was torturing the poor guy.
So that's a great point. Sometimes it's just as simple as ask the question.
Yeah.
Right? Like we're not mind readers at all. Why do we think that we can be mind readers? For the life of me, I'll never understand that. Because I'm guilty of the same thing. Like why you can't read my mind? What would make me think that I can read your mind anymore?
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So it's opening those lines of communication, and sometimes it's just asking them questions. So that's a great, I would say, second step, right? Is like actually having the conversations.
I think if people clicked on that link, whether you have 3 people on your team or 30 people, and everybody took it, I bet you that if we're not focused on it, we give what we want to everybody else. And in our brain, we're like, of course, for me, it's acts of service and words of affirmation, right? Which I bet you in the technician world, I bet you that's a trait, a more common trait. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. I'm just wondering if that's a common trait of a service type person who is there to take care of others, right? Like we don't, like you and I, we don't. When you were in the appliance business, you didn't want somebody that was strongly mechanically inclined who didn't give a crap about a human soul, right? It just didn't work. But if he was fixing them in the shop, he would be the troll in your shop, and you would just keep him caged in there and let him out to go home every night, right? But you didn't have to interact with humans. So I wonder if words of affirmation and acts of service are just, they kind of come with the territory of that type of job. I don't know.
I'm interested to find out. And how about your CSRs? How about you as the owner or the manager? Like, what are your gifts? How are you inspiring others? And that back to the point with Matt and I, are you wielding it like an axe? Or are you wielding it like a bouquet of flowers? Right? Which way are you using that particular language? Because the reality is you can use it either way, and you may not be conscious of the way that you're using it. Because for me, it took me a little bit to figure out that I was wielding an axe to Matt, and I'm just thinking, yeah, okay, it's no big deal, and he thinks it's no big deal, and so it took a little bit for us to kind of figure out, this is them trying to show that they care, and here I am, like, you know,
wow.
throwing
Now
it
it
in the
sounds
trash
bloody,
can.
like Braveheart. Were you wearing a
I
kilt
mean,
when this was all going on?
you never know. You never know.
Goodness.
But it can be, right? I mean, so many pieces, I think, of toxic culture come about from it ends up as a battle instead of trying to find understanding, right? Trying to cram everyone into this one size fits all mentality, this one size fits all compensation, this one size fits all whatever, and pretty soon it does. It becomes a bloody battle, and you end up with this toxic culture because everyone is so used to, well, they're just gonna, you know, throw this in my face, or they're gonna, you know, or has the potential to become that, I guess.
Yeah,
a better way to put that. So
I wonder if I began to make changes at Action where every employee could have a tailored incentive to their career with us, how complicated that would be, or how difficult it would be to set it and to maintain that, or is that just like is reaching to grasp buy-in from every single employee? Is that just unreasonable? Is it too much to manage, or would it be something to make us a special place to work, where it's like, hey, I have one of 5 options here in my review or in my KPI time, and the reward I get to pick that one. You know, would that make us stand out as a company that cares more about the employees, or one that's just spinning their wheels trying to, you know?
Well, you talked about that one saying overbooked. You had this spectacularly blow up in your face. Or what was it you? Oh yeah, you. And then Joe was sharing about how it blew up in Dean's face.
Right.
You know, like, oh hey, we're gonna do this thing. Nobody cared. Because it wasn't their language, right?
Right.
So yeah, I think you have the potential to stand out in this. So we all complain about not being able to find employees, right? Like, oh my gosh, it's impossible to find employees. What if we sought to find out, like, what inspires these employees, whether it's to come and work for us, or to stay motivated, or to grow, or to follow the mission statement? What if we did take the time to find out what inspires these individuals? And what if we began to promote this culture within, so that as it became too big for us to do this with everyone, our managers began to do that with their direct reports. And so we're left to inspire our managers, and our managers are inspiring their reports. And the direct reports are then inspiring their customers. And so what happens if we create this big snowball?
Well, and that's an important thing to kind of understand is what works today, can it work 5 years from now? It has to be sustainable. You know, you would, and to switch gears and say, hey, that was a program that I couldn't sustain. It doesn't work for most people. So I'm not going to do all this extra work. Back to, you know, you get a bonus or whatever. And the person, you know, it is, to me, how about this? Thinking out loud. So let's say it creates 10 or 15 or 20% more time and energy and passion in my life to create something like this. And it's working. Do those employees, should they feel like they owe me a little bit more because we're working at such a great place where I'm working harder than I have to win them to have their buy-in? Well, can that become a humility check for me? Like when they have a grievance, you know, I could see myself in an unhealthy space going, are you kidding me? Work anywhere else and you wouldn't get this, this, and this, but I do this for you because I care about you. And now you're selfishly whining about, you know, we have to make sure that whatever we decide to do, it's because it's the right thing to do. And if we decide to sustain it, it's just part of the job and it's not personal. and we don't need to compare ourselves to other companies. I don't know. I'm just playing all the scenarios in my head right now. Probably gonna have to call out sick tomorrow to think about it some more. But
I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head there. We can't take it personally, but it has to be personal, right? So we have to be personal with the employees, but we can't take it personal on the other side of that. So
it's what we do because of who we are, right? It's what we do because we've chosen that's who we want to be. And in that situation, no employee needs to come on here, having this gratitude of dying service to us. They're going to still be humans who struggle, so can't take it personally. That's very hard.
But wouldn't you agree that if you're inspiring people in the way that touches their soul, like, wouldn't you agree that that's going to be less of an issue? Like, maybe why we fight things so much is because we're trying to shoehorn everyone into one way of, we're just going to give vacation time, and I'm paying you better than anyone else. Well, what if paying them better than anyone else doesn't matter to them? What if just saying, you know what, good job, like, great job, like, what if that's what inspires them, and all you're saying is you suck? Like, what happens if we begin to meet them where they are? I think the potential on the back end of that is just, it's so great that I don't think you're going to have to worry about it. I mean, you're still going to have the human condition. You're still going to have people that are upset, but I think because you establish this level of communication and this level of trust, it becomes less of an issue. You're able to more freely communicate.
Well, I like the word level because when you do something like that, I feel like when you make a decision like this, you're leveling up. You're taking your business to the next level. You never want to go back down. So it's got to be a smart type of thing that can be sustainable, and we will see fruits. But have you ever found yourself, Zach, getting in the momentum of it all, and somebody falters just a little bit and pulls away from that momentum? Sometimes I recognize that I might be striving for perfection in that moment. Like, there's someone right now in my life that I'm trying to get buy-in for, and I see progress and I get really excited. It could make my day, it could make my week. And then 4 days later, they did a complete reversal. And then I'm like so discouraged. And so my existence when I invest into people is this. It's ups and downs. And I know I probably need to just kind of step way back and look at the trends like you're suggesting, and that we're going to see a positive trend going up. But a lot of times I find myself in the moment getting really angry. And then you start to go, is that the right person or is that the wrong person? Is it me? Is it them? Have I given them enough chances? I'm done with that. It's an emotional ride. But I do think you're right. I do think you're right that all those things, if they're manageable and sustainable, will have a trend. And we have to keep thinking it's also not for the employee that you currently have. It's the employee that you hire 3.5 years from now that God knows is going to be your next superstar. And because you're putting your infrastructure in place and your mindset in place, when they get here, it's going to be a perfect match. And from there, you're going to have a spike. You just don't know. So you sometimes have to do what you believe is right and stay committed to it for hopefully the future, right? So
and I love what you said there. Don't take it personal. Like, that's the trap that you were sharing that you fall into, and that's why you're always the one to say, like, don't take it personal, because that is the trap. If we begin to hang our success and our worth on other people succeeding,
that's well said,
or trending upwards, it's really hard to not take that personally. How often have you been like, yes, I got this great tech and he's going to be fantastic and he's going to be a superhero, and then he sucks.
Sure.
And you're like, wow, I suck. No.
Right. Yeah.
No, you tried something and it didn't work.
Yeah.
And a human was a human. Weird. Weird.
Yeah.
It's not personal. It's a human being a human.
Hmm.
And suddenly, if you can begin to look at it that, and I'm talking into a mirror, like I'm just, I have to coach myself on this every day, but suddenly now you can start to inspire more because it's not about you.
Mm-hmm.
You've taken the personal out of it, and you've made it about them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Agreed.
It changes the tone. It changes the game when you can do that.
Boy, I'm exhausted thinking about this. I don't know. No, I love it, actually. Most days it fills me up. It inspires me. So, and you've got to be in that moment each step of the way. So it's where you get your fuel. Yep.
So true. So true. Well, guys, that's what we have for today. Look at the top. Big announcement. Regional meetup for Service Alliance Group. July 22nd, Richmond, Virginia. More details are coming soon, but that's what I have for you right now. July 22nd, save the date in Richmond, Virginia, a one-day regional. Exciting.
I think there's a new airline out of Hartford that's called Breeze. I think it's Breeze, which is a lame name for an airline because you don't want to be flying by the breeze. I'd want engines. So, but it's like $125 or $149 round trip to go to visit TK. That's where TK lives, isn't it? Is Richmond, Virginia, where Richmond is where TK is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Like there's Disneyland and Disney World, and then there's TK. So I might try to do this thing. This would be pretty cool.
I love it.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. We have Southwest as our big, like we're one of the biggest hubs for Southwest here in Chicagoland. Actually, the entire airport of Midway is pretty much Southwest. So if you go there and there's something else parked there, it's weird. Okay. As long as it's not Spirit, because you will end up as Spirit on Spirit Airlines.
Whoa. Maybe it was Spirit. I have to look in my email and find out what this new airline is.
It's no, Spirit's been around. I call it the Rubber Band and Bubblegum Airline. It's from a aviation maintenance technician perspective. Anyway, that's it.
I know when
July 22nd.
Thank you. You brought me down.
Richmond, Virginia. See us
Have
there.
a good day, guys.
Have a good one, guys.